This is Jeremy Phillips from FindingYourChurch.com, and we're going to talk about automated church growth strategies for the overworked pastor. Now, you may or may not be overworked, I don't know, but a lot of pastors are overworked. And so what we want to do is we want to simplify the process of church growth. Now, I'm not talking about church growth in the sense of how to take people through next steps or how to move people through a process in your church. What I'm talking about is how to get new visitors into your doors. And so we are going to talk about 3 automated strategies. These are strategies that you can put into place one time or something that just kind of happens on a monthly basis that you don't have to manage once you get them set up. And so in that sense, they are truly automated strategies that you put them in place once and get them started, and then they continually work for you to bring people into your doors every single week. And so one of these strategies that I'm going to talk to you about, you can actually do for yourself completely free. But I am going to tell you at the end of this video how you can get me to do it for free for you. And so I will actually do it for free for you, but one of them, it doesn't cost you a thing. It just costs you just a little bit of time. And once you have it set up, it's going to be working for you even while you sleep. And so another one of the strategies that I'm going to talk about only has to be done once. And this is another one that you could technically do for free yourself, but it is actually much, much easier to have it done for you. And I do know what I would consider to be the best place to get it done for a very reasonable cost. And it's something you only have to do one time, but it actually has a lot of potential to give you results. And once you put it in place, it strengthens your position online that people are going to be able to find you much, much easier. And the last strategy, I'm going to get this out of the way. It does have a small monthly investment cost, and it really is small compared to what it can do for you. And I can actually help you do it, but I'm going to tell you again that if you use me and FindingYourChurch.com to help you do it, I will do the first strategy for you absolutely free, and then also give you another gift for free that's worth $15 a month or $150 a year. And so before we get started, really quickly, who am I? Who is Jeremy Phillips? I have worked in churches for over 18 years, and I still do work in churches. And much of that time, I have been responsible for the website and online presence of the churches that I've worked at. And I have consistently worked to make those churches as easy to find online as possible. And that's really what my goal is to make churches as easy to find as possible. And so that's really the goal and the vision of Finding Your Church. I started it to help great churches take strategic steps to increase online visibility and help new visitors easily find those churches. I'm not really into helping bad churches. There are some bad churches out there, but I'm anticipating that since you're actually watching this video, that you are one of the good, great churches because you want to find and reach people. So now here's the concept of the automated church strategies for the overworked pastor. Every pastor that I know has way too much to do. And so there's the list of things that they have to do, and it's already on their list. And then there's also a huge list of things that they know that they should be doing, but they just can't get to. And I know that even though there are some churches that want to stay exactly the same and that they don't want to grow, most churches have church members who have an expectation that the church will grow and get new visitors. And even though I don't believe it's a fair thing to assume or to focus on for the church member's perspective, but the pastor or the church staff are usually the ones on the receiving end or the receiving side of that pressure to grow the church. And the crazy thing is that doing that work of church growth is not really even the pastor's job. As you know, a pastor's job is to actually equip the people in the church to do the work of the ministry. But even though it's not really technically your job, what if there were automated ways to get new visitors in your doors and actually help the church grow without a lot of work or extra work or effort on your part. There may be some, setup in the beginning, but it's not going to be something that you're going to have to maintain. And of course, you're going to want to do other things throughout the life of your church to help your church grow and to motivate your people, to help find new people to come into the church. But what if there were things that you could put in place one time or do on a monthly basis that happened in an automated way that would just bring people into your church without you having to do anything? Without you could be sleeping and these things are happening. Your church members or attenders can be sleeping and these things would be working for you every single week, bringing new visitors into your doors. So what if there were automated steps that you could put in motion that would bring in new visitors while you and your church members were asleep? Well, the good news is that there are definitely automated steps that you can put in place to help people find your church, specifically online, but they may not be the steps that you would normally think of doing. And so what do most churches do to find new people online? Well, typically they try to use church people to engage non-church people on social media. And so they encourage people, to share things about the church on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Well, the frustrating part is that, from the people's perspective, is that they're usually not even given great content from the church worth sharing online. And so they don't do it. They're usually just giving ads. We're putting out ads for announcements and different events that we have coming up, but people aren't really going to share those kind of things. And so there's all kinds of resources out there that you can get to, how to put out great content on social media. And that's kind of not what we're talking about, but people typically don't do it because they're not given great content to share. And even if you do have great content, people can be hesitant to share church-related media on their personal feeds. Now, whether that's right or not, I don't know, but they still don't do it if they're hesitant to do that. And so here's really the question, though, because that's really is where people are driven to share their church, as we're telling them to do it online on social media. But where does the average person go when looking and searching for a new church? It's not social media, it is Google. People looking for a church in your area do not go to Facebook or Instagram when they want to find a new church. They search on Google, and then after they find the church, then they'll go to the church social media to engage with the church that they've already found, but that's not where they're going as a first step. And so can they find you through social media if your church members are sharing your content online? Of course. And the best way for someone to be invited to a church is, of course, an individual invite. And so it's a great strategy to motivate your church attenders and give them tools to spread online and find new people. But that's not the purpose or approach of finding your church. That's not what we do. And that is definitely not where a new potential church visitor is searching for a church. They're not looking on social media. So our purpose is to help you put automated strategies in place for your church that work even while you and your church attenders are asleep. Our purpose is to help you as a potentially overworked pastor. You may not be one of those. You may have a life of ease and everything is easy and you have plenty of time. But if you are an overworked pastor, hopefully put a system in place that consistently brings in brand new visitors every single week without you having to do something in addition to make it happen. You can still do those other things and increase it exponentially, but this is something that works for you in the background. And so the church that I currently work at has literally exploded with the number of new visitors that we have coming in through our doors on a weekly basis. And it's coming from just putting these automated steps and steps like this that I'm going to talk about in place. And in fact, now I work at the church and that's my responsibility to do that, but I don't even think about getting new visitors in the doors anymore. It just happens automated consistently every single week. 1 week on a regular Sunday in the middle of the summer, where typically it's down. in most churches. We had 11 new families visit our church on one specific Sunday that was not a special Sunday, not an event, not anything but just a regular Sunday. You know, our church at the time ran about 500 people, so it was a decent sized church, but 11 new families in one Sunday, not people, families with kids and, parents. And so, 4 or 5 people per family, and nearly all of them said that they found us online, and that really is the automated strategy at work. I don't worry about new people coming through the doors. It just happens. And so the way that you put this in place is by, number one, cooperating with Google, by doing what they want you to do so that they can trust you. And when they trust you, they will potentially raise you in local church search terms in your area. And number two, capitalizing on people already visiting your church website. And a little hint, the way that you do that is to learn from and copy Amazon, and I can actually help you do that with a service that I offer. And so let's talk about the strategies. The first automated strategy is to claim and optimize your Google Maps, Google Business Page listing. And so you may have heard it both ways, but you can do this absolutely free, or I'm going to tell you in a little bit how you can have me do it absolutely free for you. And so this may be a step that you've already done. Your church may have already claimed and optimized its listing. Maybe you have control of your Google Maps listing and you just haven't optimized it and haven't added pictures to it and haven't cleaned up the information. Or maybe it says that you have control of it, but you don't really know how to access it or how to log in. Well, you really need to figure out how to do this, because Google Maps is possibly the easiest step that you can take to increase your church online visibility and make your church very easy to find. And so the first step is to claim your Google Maps listing. And so to see if yours still needs to be claimed, what you need to do is search for your church on Google and then look for your listing. And it'll usually show up, to the side. And so unless, kind of on the right-hand side of the search bar or page, and unless your church is, very, very new, Google probably has already created a listing for you because they're pulling information off your church website and in different spots. And so it's probably already there, but you need to get control of it. And so what you want to do is when you pull that up, I just pulled up First Assembly of God in Sheboygan, Wisconsin. I have no connection to this church whatsoever. I'm sure it's a great church. I don't really know, but I just needed an example. And so what you want to do is right there where that red arrow is, you want to look for the Own This Business link, and then that will tell you if you have it claimed. If you don't see the Own This Business link, then you probably already have it claimed. And you say, well, I don't have control of it. I don't know how to log into it. Well, you're going to have to figure that out. But then once you get control of that, you can optimize that listing. And another reason that you definitely want to optimize this and get control of it is, right above the arrow, it says Google reviews. And so people can review your church. And again, this is going to be basic for most of you, but people can review your church. And if you don't have control of this listing, you cannot respond or answer any of these people who are leaving reviews on your church. And so if you get a bad review, and you don't have any access to it, then you have really no rebuttal to them. And so basically, after you find that out, if you find that you need to claim this and optimize it, go to google.com/business and use a church Gmail account to log in, and then you'll claim that address. It's all address-based, location-based. You'll claim that address, and you'll walk through the process that they lay out very clearly for you in the back end. And then it'll either send you a postcard or give you a call on your church phone number to verify that you really are, who you say you are. They're not going to let somebody else claim that for you. But, they'll let you claim it for you. I could claim it for you, but you don't want somebody random claiming it and then putting a bunch of junk on there and really messing you up. And so you want to do that as soon as after you get verified, either through the phone call or through the postcard that just gives you a PIN number. Then you'll be able to log in and you'll be able to add the information. It's really as simple as that. And you add pictures and all kinds of things. It's pretty basic, pretty simple. But again, I'll tell you at the end of the video how I can do that for you and help you do that. So the first step, automated strategy, because once you have this in place, people are going to be able to find you on their mobile phones with the Google Maps app as they're driving around looking for churches. And then when they search online for churches in your local city, that's what's going to come up at the top in the maps area. And usually you see those locations, those businesses and everything coming up at the top. That's what these links are. And you can be there. But you got to claim it and optimize it to get there. So the second automated strategy is to claim and optimize as many other local listings as possible. And again, you can do this yourself, nearly free, probably free. But I'm going to tell you, it's not worth your time or your effort to do this step. You can do the Google business page. You could probably do Bing. You could probably do Yelp, do a couple of things that you wanted to do as one-offs. But I'm talking about like 40 to 50 other local listings, plus these things called data aggregators that are above all these listings that feed your correct church information to all of these other local business directory sites. And you say, local business directory, that doesn't make sense. I'm not a business, I'm a church. Well, Google looks at your church like a business. And so you have to do what other small businesses do to be able to get found online in Google. And so you're going to want to follow this step because that's what Google is looking for. And this strategy is very similar to what, you may have seen Yext, that service where it talks about all of these different listings like yellowpages.com and Localese and Factual's a data aggregator and all of these different sites. And by the way, Yext is not the service that I would recommend for you to do this with, but it's probably one of the most well-known. And so what you're going for is you're trying to consistify, it's probably not even a word, but bring consistency to all of these different local directories, and specifically with your church name, address, and phone number, so that all of them are the same. First of all, it's a great thing to do for any visitors, potential new visitors. If they find you on one of these random sites, and that's what happened to come up first for them, then you're going to want to have your correct information. And if your church has moved, if it's changed phone numbers, if it's changed a website address, whatever that case is, you're going to want the correct information to be on there. And you do not want to try to go to all of these different sites and change it one by one. You want to use a service that will do this for you, and they can feed it out because they have relationships to all these different sites. And so why is claiming and optimizing local business directory listings important for your church, even though you're not a business, you're a church? Well, Google is looking for consistency in your local business directory listings. And so they're looking for all of those as much as possible. It's not possible to get 100%. I mean, all of these sites are so different, and that's why it's very hard to claim on your own, because every time you go to a new site, they have a different system, and you don't want to mess with this. You want to use a service to do this for you. It's just a waste of your time. It's not fun to do, but it has huge results if you can get it taken care of. So they're looking, for consistency, and especially when it matches your Google Maps, Google business listing information that we talked about before, then Google, I say potentially because it's, nothing's guaranteed with Google, but trusts your church more, and specifically your church information more. And so when they trust you more, they are much more likely to raise your Google Maps listing in search, because you see those business listings above the regular search listings. You want yours to be up at the top when people search for churches in your area, and you want to get positive Google Maps business reviews on your Google Maps page and different things like that. All of that helps you get higher, but when you claim and optimize these other listings, Google trusts you more, and it raises your Google Maps listing and even your church website. It ties it all back into your church website, and it raises it in church local search terms. And so you definitely need to do this. There is a small cost attached to it, but it is so worth it when you get all of that consistent, not only for Google to see, but for those people searching for your church, so that no matter what site they find, as much as possible, again, it's not possible to get 100% because there's so many of these sites out there, but when you feed it into this system, when you use a service to do this, it feeds your correct information to all these sites, and then you don't have to worry about it. It's like, hey, you're already overworked. You're an overworked pastor potentially. Don't add more work to yourself, or even putting this on a volunteer is probably like torturing them. So I would just use this service. So That's just probably the simplest thing to do. So if you want to know the company that I would currently recommend to claim and optimize your church listings, just email me, Jeremy@getfound@findingyourchurch.com, and I will send that to you. And the reason I don't just put it in here is because my recommendation may change, and this stuff changes a lot. But I definitely have a specific recommendation that it's probably about the cheapest for what you get. And it really is very inexpensive for what you get. So that's the second strategy. So the first one's claim and optimize your Google Maps/business page. And the second one's claim and optimize as many of the other listings as possible. Then the third automated strategy is to extend the reach of your church website with what is called retargeting. And the simple explanation of that is just to copy Amazon. And the reason that I say copy Amazon is because Amazon does this. You're already familiar with this, but website retargeting happens when we place a pixel, what's called a pixel, and it's all in the back end. Nobody sees it, but we place a pixel on your church website that recognizes when a person, an individual, visits your site. And then when they leave, they begin seeing, graphics or ads for your site that are then linked back to your church website, and all of this works in the background. And so you've already seen this happen on Amazon, specifically, and a lot of other sites are doing this now. But it's kind of scary when you go to a link on Amazon or a product on Amazon and you're viewing some things, and then you go completely away from Amazon. You go to a news site, or you go to some other thing that's not even related to the products you were searching for, and you see an ad appear, and you know that they're not paying that website specifically to put an ad on there based on what you saw. But they know what you saw, and then they pull an ad that's very relevant to what you saw. Now that's like a whole nother level. That's, crazy expensive and all these things to get that specific. But the basic thought of it is the same. And the awesome part is that you can do this on your church website. And so, how it works, it's very simple again, but I just thought I'd throw this graphic up there just as, one more simple explanation. People go to your website, an individual, they leave your website, and then they go to other websites and they start seeing your ad on other websites. And so it's not Google ads, it's not social media ads, it's not Facebook ads. Facebook does the same thing. They put a pixel on your site. You can do that. And then when somebody visits your site and then they go to Facebook, then they start seeing ads for your product or your business or even your church. You could do that, but it's just you're paying a lot of money for these Facebook ads, and people have to be on Facebook to see them. This system is when they go to your website, then they can see this anywhere, across mobile, across desktop, across tablet, and that type of thing. So, how does this work? So it can work to get new visitors and casual attenders. So new visitors back to your website, and then also your casual attenders back to your website. So this strategy is really not about ads and advertising like Facebook would be. It's not about advertising your church as much as it is about extending the reach of your church website beyond that one visit. And so let's say a new person moves into your area. What are they going to do? They're going to Google churches, and typically they're going to visit a lot of church websites. But when they leave your website, since your website is extended, they continue to see you beyond that one website visit. And so they visit 10 church websites, and then they start searching for other things, other moving related things, and they see your ad start showing up where they don't see that about the other churches. And, we're not in competition necessarily with other churches, but, depending on what your belief system is, you may be in somewhat of a competition with other types of churches. You don't want them to go to a church that doesn't necessarily believe like you do, and plus you're wanting to grow your church. That's why you're doing this in the first place. So you do want them to see you after they leave your website. Otherwise, they just leave the website and they're gone, and you're never going to see them again. And so that's how it works with a new visitor, maybe somebody moving into your area. But website retargeting, your website in this pixel doesn't know if these people attend your church already or not. And so what about your current attender site visits? Your current attenders are going to be going to the site, and yes, they will be retargeted too. And so when your current attenders go to your website, they're going to leave the website and they're going to see ads for your website. But with, everything has changed so much. It used to be that people would go to church every single week of the month, every single month of the year, and people were just committed. But now church attendance is so sporadic that the benefit of website retargeting is for all those sporadic people who come once a month, twice a month. Then if they visit your site anytime during that month, then they are going to see your ads as well. And it's just a reminder for them to stay connected back to your church. And plus, another thing that you can do is you can, make sure that your church staff or people directly connected to your church, that those computers and devices aren't getting targeted, so you're not wasting anything, any money or anything on people who don't need to be retargeted because they work at your church. So that's what website retargeting is. We can do that with your church. And so how can we help? We offer website retargeting based on the number of visitors your website gets in a given month. So each visitor, kind of as a recommendation, should see you after they visit your site 5 times within a month. That's not too intrusive, because they would just see it every once in a while throughout the course of the month, about once a week or so. But it's also not selling it either, not undershowing it to them, because you want them to be retargeted. So that's why you're doing it. So basically, our goal is to have each visitor to your site see your ad or your extension, what I'm going to call a website extension, 5 times. And so you can find the number of users on your website if you have Google Analytics installed, and then you just multiply that by 5 views per user. And so this is kind of a screenshot of my church analytics. And so if you pull up the analytics and then you go to the audience overview, you can see the number of users. And you got to, up on the right, make sure that it's set for 1 month time period, and that's actually a little over a month. But so, I would move that up like a week, and then it comes out to about 1,000 for our church, so 1,000 users. And then I would just multiply that by 5, so that gives me 5,000 times that my graphic or my ad or my website extension is viewed by those people. And so if I have 1,000 users in a given month, and I'm going to show them 5 ads each, then that's 5,000. It would be my goal to what I would pay for, or what I would have on a monthly rotation. And so that's really what website retargeting is. We can offer that to you, and we can help you with that. And so the big question is, that I'm sure you're wondering, is what is the cost? And again, I said that I'm going to give you a couple of bonus things if you start using website retargeting. And so here's really what website retargeting costs currently. So for retargeting for both mobile, desktop, and tablet, the cost is $20 per 1,000 ad views. And so for my church, it would be 5,000 ad views. And so I would take $20 times 5,000. So it's not times the users, it's times the number of times people would see your ad. And so each person would be seeing that 5 times. And so the cost on a monthly basis for my church would be that $20 times 5,000. And so your church could be different. You may only have half that, or you may have a lot more than that. So it's really is based on your individual church situation. And so that's just kind of a recommended budget for that. But you can also set a monthly budget. And so if you wanted to do more than that, or if you wanted to do less than that, and you said, well, man, I've got like a lot of people coming to my website, but I don't want to do that many, you could set a lower monthly budget. But our recommended budget is $20. Well, the cost $20 per 1,000 ad views. And so you just do that simple math. You go to your Google Analytics and you find out the number of users, take it times 5, and that's your cost on a monthly basis. And so if you don't have Google Analytics installed, or you don't have any way of finding out how many people actually come to your website on a monthly basis, then you could just start out at a certain number. And so you could say, well, I'm going to start out with 3,000 ad views and see what happens. So if we don't serve up 3,000 ad views, then we know that not that many people come to your website on a regular basis, and so then you could bump it down, because you're also going to get reports that show you, how many were served up and how many you actually used. And so so that's the recommendation, and it's very easy to find. So if you don't have Google Analytics, then we would just have to set a number and go from there and see what happened the next month after you saw how much you actually used. And so obviously, if we're going to be serving up ads, then we're going to need the ads to be able to show. And those are just graphics that need to be created. And so for a full set of retargeting ads, what I'm going to call website extensions, but really they're ads, to be created, the cost is $250 for the first set. And by set, on these sizes here, all of those different sizes need to be created to serve up to the different ways that people are viewing your content and viewing their website. So for mobile, desktop, and tablet, there are going to be different sizes that need to be displayed, and those different sizes are going to be pulled based on the device that person is using to view it on. And so what I'm offering you is to set up the first set of graphics in all of these different sizes for $250. And then if you want to have an additional set, so like maybe you want to advertise a specific event and send them to a specific page, or advertise a specific event. Maybe you have a concert coming up, or especially Christmas and Easter. And so you want to have the ad specific to Easter or Christmas or whatever. So after your first set, which would be a basic, design to send them back to your main church website, then I would switch out that ad to be specific to whatever event you're trying to promote. And so primarily that would be a text change on all of those different sizes, but I would do that for $100 each additional. But you may only need one, so you may only need the first set, and if all you're wanting to do is retarget them back to your main website, then you could just get one set and just stick with that and not ever have to change that. So that's the setup part, and that's really just kind of like the initial setup. You have to have the graphic ads to be able to do the retargeting, and so you would have the setup and then also the monthly cost per 1,000 ad views. And then, like I said, I'm going to give you free bonuses. So if you set up a recurring monthly website retargeting service, I'm going to give you claiming and optimization of your Google Maps. And so I will do that for you. I will walk through the process. I'll tell you exactly what I need. And it's just basic church information and some pictures and your logo. It's not like some mega complicated thing. But I will do that for you. And then I'll also give you a free membership to the Finder resource, which is a $15 a month value or $150 a year, depending on the choice. So, if you went out and tried to get in the membership outside of this service, you would be paying $15 a month or $150 a year. And what that includes is that is a step-by-step process. So yeah, we're doing website retargeting. I told you about the Google Maps. I told you about the local business directory listing service. But there are other things that you can put into place for getting people into your doors and for reaching out and getting new visitors into your church that I explain and walk through inside of the Finder resource membership. And so it is definitely worth it. I also have a section on church podcasting and how to do podcasting and step-by-step setup for that, and a lot of different other things that are in the Finder resource membership. I'm going to give that to you absolutely free when you set up a recurring website retargeting for your website. And so the first step, because there's a couple of specific things we have to do, like figure out how much you would be doing a month and that kind of thing. I can't really send you to a purchase link. So the first step really is just to contact me. So as a very first step, just email me, email Jeremy at getfound@findingyourchurch.com. So email me, Jeremy at getfound@findingyourchurch.com. Tell me that you want to get started with website retargeting and you want the free bonuses, and we'll get it started for you very quickly. And again, this is not something that you're locked into forever. So while we can't give a refund for something that you have already done, you are able to stop at any time. So all we ask is that you give a couple of weeks notice, and we can stop your retargeting if you feel like it's not something that works for you and you don't want to do it. We'll have the initial setup fee, and you'll have whatever you have done up to that point. So let's say you do 3 months worth and you decide, I'm going to stop. That's fine. We just need a couple of weeks to be able to take it out of the system so that we can have time to make sure we have you completely out of that. But there's not some long-term commitment. It's not like a contract or anything like that. We may ask you to do like a little bit of, like a couple months at a time or something at the very beginning just to make sure we get started. But after that, there's no contract. You can stop at any time. We just need a couple weeks notice to get that stopped. So if you want to start website retargeting, however, just email me, Jeremy at getfound@findingyourchurch.com, and we will get started very quickly, maybe even today.